Cop Talk on KUGN. Crime stats, prevention tips, criminal hotspots, and more on Cop Talk.
Well, you're familiar with the music. It's now time for Thursday Morning Cop Talk. I'm Grant McHill alongside Storm Kennedy.
And in studio with us this morning is crime prevention specialist Harlow Meno. Good morning, sir. Thanks for being here.
Good morning.
And Harlow, you had a very interesting program with the Eugene Police Department. Tell us about it.
Sure. That program is called the Citizen Radar Program. It's one where citizens come to us with speeding concerns within their neighborhood or in areas in Eugene. And then it's a program where they're able to partner with us, and they're able to actually work with us to go out and speed gun cars, identify speeders, and then we do some education work with those people just to make sure they're aware that they're in violation of the speed limit.
So there's actual citizens that have a radar and that can clock how fast somebody's going in their own neighborhood?
Correct. What we do is we actually have volunteers that come to us that have these concerns. We go through a process where we train them in how to use the radar, and then they take the radar out in their neighborhood. They speed gun cars, and then they identify if they truly do have people that are going in excess of the speed limit there. They turn that information back into the police department, and then we're able to follow through with some educational, some letters to those people who are speeding to just identify and educate them about the fact that they're speeding and that they need to be more careful in their neighborhood. Before
we went on the air, Harlow, you mentioned something kind of interesting to me, is that a lot of times when people take the radar guns out there, they find that maybe speeders aren't going as fast as they think, right?
That's true. Sometimes you can be out in a neighborhood where it just appears that the cars are going very, very fast, far in excess of the speed limit. And what they find out sometimes is it's not the case. But then they also, there are cases where obviously people do speed in the neighborhood, and it helps to document those things and get that information to us.
So this is not a program to cause friction in a neighborhood. It's to actually help the neighbors get along better, safety reasons in the neighborhood. And when you talk about maybe a citizen having a radar gun and documenting what's happening and then turning it into you, and you talk about letters being sent, can you explain how the letter process works?
Sure. What happens is if there is somebody who's identified as speeding, and it's to an extent where we're going to go ahead and send the letter out, because it's not in every case where, say, somebody's 1 mile an hour over the speed limit. In those most serious cases, we do send out letters, and those letters are meant to educate the person who's the registered owner of that vehicle that on that date and time that somebody was identified as speeding and what the speed was in that case in that specific situation.
And so what if there's a second speeding situation?
Well, there is a series of letters. Generally, if somebody were to continue the behavior and it happened twice, they would get letters from us. The third letter would come from the chief, and then the fourth letter would be hand carried by an officer out to them.
Is there a point when a citation could be issued for this?
From these specific situations where a citizen is doing the radar gunning, no, we would not issue a citation. But certainly all this information would get turned into our traffic enforcement team, and then they can identify if this is a place where they need to go out and do some enforcement work.
So how does one go about becoming part of the Citizen Radar program?
All they would need to do is contact us here at the Eugene Police Department in our crime prevention unit. They can call one of two different numbers. The first one is 541-682-5137. That's the crime prevention number. Or they could call me. My name is Harlow Meno, and I'm one of the program managers there. And my number is 541-682-8332.
And if somebody would like to participate in the program, Harlow, how many people do you recommend be part of the gunning and the information taking?
Generally, it takes a couple people to do that. They need to work as teams because one person needs to actually run the speed gun and do and identify the speeds. And then the other person needs to take that information and record it, so they're recording speed, vehicle description, and the license plate number of that vehicle.
Have you noticed, Harlow, that there are certain neighborhoods that are more prominent than others that want to be part of this program, and maybe there's more intense speeding in certain neighborhoods in Eugene?
You know, it happens all over Eugene. It's not just one specific place. sometimes it's around school zones, and we've had a lot of people that are very concerned around school zones. So I'm assuming it's going to be where people, those people have children going to school in their neighborhood, but it happens everywhere. I would say in every neighborhood in Eugene, speeding is always one of the quality of life issues that we hear about.
Even with the speed bumps, I have speed bumps in my neighborhood, and there's still speeding going on. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I have a quick, just an observation or a question, I guess, curiosity. So when the radar guns first came out and police officers were along the highway, shooting the radar gun at cars, and there were radar detectors and stuff. And there were so many stories and comments about, those radar guns don't work, And so how do you deal with something like that and have the citizens that are a part of this program, I guess, learning more about radar guns and of their quality?
Well, all the people that are in the program, they have to go through a training process. The officer that teaches that, the motor officer that teaches that, explains the process they go through, explains the science behind the radar gun and how that specifically works. He explains that our guns are calibrated just like the officers' guns are, so that the speeds they're recording are truly accurate.
Okay.
And that's the requirement. Periodically, those guns do need to be recalibrated. And so that kind of explains the whole process of how those guns, work and the science behind that. So,
wow. Okay.
And during the duration of the program, have you seen a difference in the neighborhoods that have used this program?
Certainly, I think there's an education process around it. I think sometimes we see a neighborhood where they feel there's a huge problem, and then you realize that the cars, maybe they're going fast, but they're only a mile or two over the speed limit. Other ones, we have cases where there's certainly, they've identified a problem, and we find that there are some very serious cases of speeding. And again, it allows us to educate the registered owner of those vehicles about their behavior and that they need to be more safe in their neighborhoods.
Wow. Well, it's an incredible program. I love hearing about it. For those of you that didn't know about it, there you go. And for those of you that are interested in possibly becoming part of the Citizen Radar program, Harlow, once again, before we let you go, how can folks get a hold of you?
The two phone numbers, the first one is 541-682-5137, or my personal number at work is 541-682-8332.
He is crime prevention specialist Harlow Meno. Harlow, as always, thank you for your time.
Thank you.